Today, I'm going to introduce you guys to Scott Johnson, and Scott is actually one of our pros in pro feedback. And I am really excited to introduce you guys to him if you have not seen him yet. He's been a really, really awesome active member in Sync Academy, and he's actually really, really cool that he goes to like Reddit and all these other forums, and he's always talking about what we're doing with Sync Academy and obviously now with pro feedback. So, Scott, you've been an awesome just ambassador for what we're doing here, so I do
Thank
appreciate
you.
that. I brought Scott on board because he not only obviously is a composer working with libraries, he's had many, many, many tracks accepted by libraries, but he's also a an educator as his full time job. So he actually has a long, long track record of being able to help coach and educate and guide students that are trying to get into music related essentially careers. So Scott has a lot of talents that are all like jam packed into his life, and so that's why I brought him on board. And for those of you that have already gotten feedback from him, you guys have seen the kind of value that he can bring and the kind of just awesome inviting language that he uses to try to get you to think about your music in a new way so that you're actually getting accepted by libraries like he has been and getting some really amazing placements. So Scott, thanks for being with us today, man. Let everybody know a little bit about your back record or your history on music, and then what led you into sync licensing and why you've been just sticking with it for the last few years.
Oh, perfect. Well, first of all, Jesse, thank you so much for having me as a part of this program. It's been an incredible journey over the last month, even, and just to be a part of this platform. It's really, I feel like I've received so much from Sync Academy over the last 2, 3 years that I'm happy to be able to give back to the community and to the people that are working so hard. And I can completely relate to a lot of the first time, second time producers out there that are just starting out and have all these questions or have all these ideas floating around in their head and they just want to get it down in the right format. They just want to put it out there and see what the world thinks of it. So it's a really cool opportunity for me, and I really love being a part of it. I guess a lot of this started for me. I am a high school media arts teacher, and I've been teaching for, this will be my 20th year teaching. So I bring 20 years of experience to the table, good or bad, I don't know. But I find there's not a whole lot of difference between working with my high school students and working with some of the members here, because for the most part, they've got a lot of ambition and they've got a lot of drive. They just need the skill set to place them into that category as a sync licensing producer. And this really all started for me about, I'd say about 5 or 6 years ago when I started creating mashups for my students. So I got Ableton software with a little controller that I bought for my class, and here I am sitting there. And as long as I was a day ahead of my students in terms of how to use it, how to work the DAW, I just kind of taught myself, and I stumbled across your platform on YouTube, and I started using a lot of the little tips and tricks that you had put out way back then. I guess it was probably about 2 years ago, and I taught myself, and as I was teaching myself, I taught my students, and it was just an incredible experience. And from there, for me, I ended up I've been playing music all my life. My dad's a guitarist. He actually still plays in the same band after almost 50 years. So it's been a really cool, it's in my blood to a degree. I can't play nearly as good as him, but so I had all these ideas. I'd listen to music and I'd say, oh, that would sound really good in a movie, or I'd be watching a movie or a TV show and I'd say, whoa, that's a really great track. I still remember the first time I heard a sync track for me was Kill Bill. And it was the opening credits to Kill Bill that just moved me so much. And I thought, that's not what I usually listen to, but it was so cool and it was so dynamic, and it had such great energy to it. And I thought, I want to do that. This is something that I want to be able to bring to the table. And second to that, I don't have time to tour bars. I don't have time to noodle around in a garage with a band. So I couldn't put that energy, and I had it pent up, and I couldn't put it into that. I'm a single dad of 2 boys. I didn't have the time. So really, I think when we had all this extra free time 2 years ago, or a year ago even, I was really kind of focusing my energy into going through all the tutorials in Sync Academy, and I kind of just, I got an hour to kill. I'm just going to check out, go down the box, even if it wasn't even something that I was not interested, but it wasn't my specialty genre. I would still listen to them and I'd go through them, and I'd always find something that really made sense to me. And so I just started writing my own tracks, and I think For me, it was when I read your Sync Psych 101. It was like a
Glad you brought
light
that
bulb.
up. I want to talk about that. Yeah.
Absolutely. What an incredible, it was like, holy cow. So I am good enough to do this. Like, I do have the resources, I do have the experience. If I follow these steps, it can be done. That's incredible. And then it just kind of went from there. And I was lucky enough to land in an exclusive library within a month of really trying to send my music out there. And I just kind of just went from there. And I went through different stages of musical styles. From I did some rock, I did some punk, I did some Christmas stuff, I did some hip hop trap, I did some acid jazz, I did some tension underscore. And it was just, I just tried to find my niche and my lane. And I think I'm there now. But I mean, every time some new custom cue comes up, I dive into it regardless of if I have the experience. But and I think a lot of it is because I have the tools now from Sync Academy, actually, to kind of adapt and change lanes where I need to. Because I think there's no, regardless of the style of music you have, you're still going to want to mix a certain way. You're still going to want to pan your instruments a certain way. You're still going to want to hit those energies and the mood. You're still going to want to have those button endings or those quick intros and everything in between. So this has been an awesome journey. And God, listening to the tracks that I'm sure you could attest to this, listen to some of the tracks that are submitted, they're incredible. They blow me away in terms of the sound quality or in terms of the ingenuity or the creativity. It's boggling, so I'm in awe of some of these people and their talents. And part of it is like, I'm learning from them too, because I say, oh, I really like how they did that. That's incredible. So yeah, this whole journey thing, I don't know where it's going to end up, but I've been having a heck of a time, working with these talented musicians, and I really hope to continue to do it.
That's awesome, man. And how many tracks are you up to now that are exclusively distributed through libraries?
Uh, as of this week, I think I'm at 82.
Nice.
I've had to slow down a little bit over the last month, but because of Sync 101, I was producing tracks in my height of, I was producing 2 to 3 tracks a week.
Yeah.
I got into the formula. I knew what was needed. I had my preset, my templates all set up
And that's with a full-time job, correct?
with a full-time job.
Right.
Yes,
And two
and
kids.
two full-time jobs.
So it's
Yeah,
possible,
so
guys. I
it
want
is
you guys to take that.
100% possible.
Yeah, definitely possible. What I love about you bringing up the sync psych stuff is, it is of course one of those things that I could say this a million times and say, if your mentality is not in the right place, it does not matter how much technical knowledge you have. It doesn't matter that you
Totally.
understand libraries, you understand royalties, synchronization rights. You can understand all this technical stuff, but mentally, if there are blocks, if there are fears, if there are doubts, if there's self-sabotage, which
Oh
is
man,
actually way more
100%.
destructive, all of that technical knowledge is literally worthless. It doesn't do you any good because you will always find a
Totally.
reason to not submit or not get your album done or whatever. So, what I love about bringing you on board with Pro Feedback is that you are a testament to that, right? Of struggling with some fears, insecurities, self doubt, whatever, going through the sync psych
Absolutely.
course and realizing, okay, I'm my own worst enemy. Nobody else is stopping me here. Nobody else is saying I can't do that.
Yeah.
Only me. Or most of the time, I find what it is. It's some voice from our past. There's something that got
Yes.
into our confidence probably at a young age, and I deal with this too. You're not alone with this. I to this day I still have that struggle. That it's just the part of the human condition that some teacher or some sibling or some parent long time ago put a little bit
Yeah.
of doubt in our heads, and we've
Yes.
never been able to completely just say, you know what, thanks for the suggestion, but I'm not going to take that. I'm going to move on. So
Absolutely.
yeah, moving through those things and acknowledging them and recognizing them is always step one. And then once you can see them, they lose their power and their hold over you. So
Yes.
that's what I love about having you in the platform is that you're somebody that has gone through that process and you've seen the
Yeah.
benefits of taking control over your mental process and your ability to have
Yes.
a positive mindset. And then as you're giving feedback to the members, you can basically relay that into them. Because I think what
Yes.
we've been hearing from all the pros with these interviews I've been doing is the biggest thing that members are getting from pro feedback is confidence, right?
Mhm.
If your tracks already are ready to go, which I've definitely heard many tracks that I feel are perfect, like a couple of tweaks maybe here and there, but they
Mhm.
should be
I,
sent
I
to a
agree.
library tomorrow. A lot of members are just looking for confidence. They just want somebody who knows what they're talking about to give them the stamp of approval to say,
Right.
you're there, go do it. Other members obviously are a little new to the game of sync licensing or even maybe even just producing altogether. And I always remember I was once there. You were once there. We were all once there where we were
Yes.
making terrible, beginner, crappy music, right?
Absolutely.
So
Oh man.
nobody's special here. Nobody gets to
No.
just start off with amazing music. We all have to
No.
start where we begin, right? So
Absolutely.
I never want anybody to feel ashamed of posting a track that might be at the beginning stages because it's like, you know
No.
what? If I went back and posted a track from when I produced in 2006 or 7 the first time, it'd be pretty cringy, really, really, really bad. But
I
that was the
get it.
best I knew at the time, and I shouldn't be ashamed of that. That's just where I was. So I think all members are understanding that too. That like even if you're brand new to this and you're sort of trying to still figure out, like you have a lot of confusion and
Yeah.
uncertainty how to get music to be accepted and placed on TV shows. You just got to accept where you are, get the feedback,
Yes.
and hopefully you can work with somebody like Scott or myself through these services and get that confidence to know you're either heading in the right direction or you really need to course correct. Because
Right.
if you don't have that answer and then you're constantly just, all right, I'll just keep producing, getting inspired by random stuff I hear, I watch TV, I like that, I want this artist, I try this, I try that. That's when you're going to find yourself 6 months down the road and realize you've gone nowhere and your music hasn't
Yeah.
improved and you don't feel
Exactly.
any sense of confidence that you're moving in the right direction. So,
Yes. You're still spinning your tires over and over again.
absolutely. So, Scott, in your reviews you've already done, are there any common mistakes that you're starting to notice that's popped up more than a few times that maybe you could help everybody out with?
I think, yeah, and I did post a video regarding that. I think the instrument panning is something is a really simple. Panning your instruments is a really simple way to open up your track and to give it room to breathe. That I think a lot of people, and I myself included, that I had to learn the hard way when it came to submitting tracks. But I think that's a very common one. Understanding that you have a full spectrum to play with. And yes, you have to play. It's always great to start in mono because then you can make sure that your kick and your snares or whatever sounds you have, they're not clashing with each other. But at some point, once you've established that, start playing with where you are in that spatial zone. And as long as that hard and fast rule, you have your low end stuff in the center, which could still be in mono, really, that's absolutely fine. But then you have lots of space to open up for percussive pieces, or if you're doing trailers, you might make some whooshes and some sound effects and some guitars and melodies and all those ear candies I call them. I think that's a very common because everyone has all these great ideas, right? And they throw them all into that track and let's add this part. Oh, I like this texture. Oh, I like this. But then when it's done, it's all kind of squished together in this little package that you can't distinguish your notes or your track. So I think that's definitely a common element that I've heard.
Yep. I think we can also summarize that in a rule, which I think it seems to be ringing true on everything that I'm listening to and every track, which is less is more. I really am feeling that
Yes.
that is actually going to be the sort of golden note that we're going to be giving almost
Yes.
everybody because too many leads, right? Like you said, or too many
Yes.
instruments jammed together, or transitions that are way too stacked up, or
Hmm.
you name it. Or I've also been hearing people that misinterpret like, oh, I have to have different changes in my track, so they're putting a new guitar riff every 4 bars. So
Yeah.
there's literally like
Yes.
it's like 16 different tracks into one, and it doesn't
Yes.
feel cohesive, right? So I've been trying to tell people, the way to get to licensability is if you can communicate an emotion with one sound as opposed to four sounds, use the one sound
That's a
always.
great
Like
way to look
there's
at
really
it.
no reason to be stacking and throwing things
No.
on there. I always find, and this is basically me talking to myself from a previous era, is if my music wasn't working, I thought, oh, I just need more, right? And that's a
Right.
mistake a lot of us think. They go like,
Yes.
well, okay, I got drums, I got a bass, I got a guitar, but it doesn't feel energetic. Let me just throw some piano in there. And then we
Yeah.
start throwing
Totally.
things, or yeah, okay, and then I need another synth, and we just start throwing things. It's like, you know what? Why don't we undo all that? Let's go back to the drums and bass. Are the
Yeah.
drums and bass
Absolutely.
really carrying the energy that they need to? Because if they are,
Exactly.
you might only need drums and bass and maybe a guitar, and the whole track can
Absolutely.
be composed. So,
And I think that's a confidence thing too, right? Because
yes.
you get to a point where you're thinking, well, I should have had more because it doesn't sound maybe. And I find that for me as a listener, getting the feedback, I can always tell how confident the person might be feeling with the track by how much is actually in the track. The
Yeah.
more that's in there, I kind of feel like they're hoping that something sticks.
Yep.
Whereas, if you have a simplified track, you're right. I mean, it carries it through and it has enough energy on its own. You don't need a lot of those extra elements.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, that's kind of where we are trying to do this, I think, with the monthly idea of this program, and we were kind of talking about this before we recorded. Was, the idea for those of you that are interested in joining and you wonder, well, okay, I want to get one track reviewed right now, but I don't think I need another review next month. The reason why you might want to rethink that is because there are a lot of members, obviously, that can join, get some feedback, and also watch everybody
Right.
else's feedback, but maybe not really quite absorb the lessons. Yes, you watched it,
Right.
you heard what Scott was saying about your track or what I was saying, you understood our language, but then going into your DAW to make those changes and try things differently, because it does
Yeah.
require you to be a little uncomfortable, because you're going to be doing
Oh
things that you're
yeah.
like, well, I don't know if that's really going to work out, but all right, let me give it a shot. So
Hmm.
the idea with the monthly program is that we give you the notes this month, and then you go to work. You go to work, you make the
Yes.
changes, you try new things. Definitely get a reference track. That's been a big thing I've been pointing
Yes.
out to. Always find a
Huge.
reference track. And then next month, come back in. You can use the same pro if you want to. You can submit it to Scott as many times as you want to. And Scott's going to now get to know you guys because he's going to get your tracks every month.
Yes.
Or you can
Absolutely.
switch. You can say, hey, you know what? I got Scott's feedback on this track this month. I made some changes. I want to go to another pro and just kind of get their feedback. You are welcome to do that.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you come to our live sessions. You can submit the track to me if you'd like to. You can have my notes and Scott's notes this month if you want to. So there's a
Absolutely.
lot of options for you guys to be able to make sure that you're not doing what I said before, which is just spinning in circles and finding that 6 months down the road, you tried a whole bunch of stuff, but you really didn't go anywhere. You just found yourself spinning. With this, we're going to basically we're going to keep you on a path that's checked in. So you're going to move in
Yes.
one direction and then do a check-in. So you post your track, we review it. That's essentially a check-in, right? And we'll let you know you're going in the right direction. Your drums sound better. Your mix doesn't sound as chaotic. It doesn't sound as over busy as it was before. Whatever your issue might have been, we'll let you know you're doing it right. Or we'll say, you know what? You're still struggling with this. I think you need to make more changes. You need to try a completely
Yes.
different approach. Try this, try that. And we'll try to give you some actionable things you can do. So
Yep.
keeping people on this very, very precise checked in monthly plan, I can't think of a better way to do it. If anybody can
I
think of a
agree.
better way to get people to make sure they go from wherever they are to getting accepted by libraries and getting placements, you guys email me. I'll be happy to make any adjustments that I can. But I think
Absolutely.
having that monthly check-in is so powerful. So, well, Scott, thank you so much for being with us today. I want everybody to definitely consider using him this month if you'd like to as one of our pros. He'll be essentially our featured pro this month. So definitely check him out. He's obviously on the platform and he's very helpful. He's been posting some really cool exclusive content too. And many people don't know this. When you're on the Pro Feedback platform, not only can you see the reviews from other members and you can get your own tracks reviewed, but there's also exclusive content from our pros that they don't release anywhere else. It's not on Sync Academy,
Right.
it's not on YouTube, it's not anywhere else. And so they're actually going to give you some of their tips and tricks for how to make sure your tracks are more licensable. And obviously Scott was talking to you about the little, kind of bonus content he put up there about panning. So if you guys want that kind of stuff that's really helpful that you can only get there, then definitely consider joining us as well. So thanks, Scott, for your time today. I appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Jesse. I appreciate it.